Welcome to Amateur Redneck Workshop. I'm Harold, the resident redneck, and today we're going to work on a little project with a stepper motor, and it'll involve a little Grizzly. It's one of those things that I've had the stepper motor for a long time, and I've considered doing this with it and considered doing that with it and considered doing something else with it, and I finally made my mind up. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a power down feed for boring. One of my viewers, I guess, figured that the head lifting thing was for boring, and actually it wasn't, but this will be. Alright? And now that we've got that out of the way, there's something I'd like to say is pretty important. Now, people don't like me to have told me before they don't want politics brought into my channel. And if this offends you, I'm sorry, and if you unsubscribe, well, that's just tough for me. But the fact of the matter is that free speech is the most important cornerstone of a democracy. The freedom to speak out and say what's on your mind. And we are quickly losing that ability. There's a lot of popular public media where people get their opinions and their news that are severely biased in which political viewpoint they support. And these people immediately label an opposing viewpoint as hate speech or, something like that. And it doesn't matter if that's really true or not. And the fact of the matter is that these media outlets like YouTube and Facebook are too large and too influential to be allowed to stop free speech. And the government should regulate them just like they used to regulate Bell Telephone when they were the only phone company in town. You remember that? They had to be regulated or broke up, whatever. Nevertheless, the government needs to regulate these guys and force them to allow any viewpoint, regardless of whether they like it or not, be shown on their platforms. Free speech is free speech, not just the speech you like or the speech that he likes or the speech that I like. Everybody, regardless of their viewpoint, has got a right to say something. And if you look at YouTube, talk about a bunch of hypocrites, Google has been working on, or is working on, this project to censor the internet for China, so that people that the Chinese feel like shouldn't be saying things to their people or ideas their people shouldn't see or hear will be excluded from what they can see on the internet. And a bunch of Google employees jumped up and protested this, quite a lot of them, and a bunch of them quit. And I thought, talk about a bunch of hypocrites. Right here on YouTube, these same Google employees are happy to censor channels they don't like. They've eliminated or censored firearms channels. If you got a conservative channel, you'll get all kinds of criticism. You'll get canceled. You'll get moved to the back of the search queue. These guys are chrome-plated hypocrites. I can't see them thinking that what they're doing to us, if they think it's good to do it to us, then do it to the Chinese. By golly, don't be hypocrites about this stuff. And I'm sure they'll label my, my little tirade here as hate speech, and they'll call me alt-right bigot and racist and God only knows what all, But that's what it is. And down in the doobly-doo, as long as it lasts, I'm going to put links to contact your representative in the House and your senator. All you got to do is click on those things and it'll guide you right to the right people. And I'm asking you to send them an email, send comments through their own media, and ask them to pass legislation forcing these big media companies to allow everyone to speak, not just the people they like. Everyone. It's important that you do it. All right. And then let's now that that's out of the way, whoever of you is left, let's get on with the video. Alright, here's the object of our affections for today. Got a stepper motor here, which is well, I don't remember what size it is. I think it's a 32. Can't say, but I do know it's a reasonably powerful stepper motor because that's what I tried to buy. I got a power supply here to run it on. I've got a, the motor controller here, and I've got a little Uno. And when I was playing with it before, I used it to this little switch here to reverse the motor, run it this way, that way, and so on. And a couple of the wires have come off, and I don't remember where they go. Of course, I can figure it out in a few minutes, but probably I'll just wind up taking all the wires off and putting this stuff in a project box and running the 4 wires out to the motor that are required to control it. Now, this motor's got a tiny shaft on it here, which is not exactly what I wanted, but it seems like tiny shaft is what you get when you buy one of these motors. I'll have to make a little hub to go on here with a set screw, and then I'll have to make whatever I put on there is likely going to have some kind of a bushing so that it'll fit. It's going to be sort of hit or miss, and I may drag this along for a couple of weeks, because I'm lazy and I'm not in a hurry. So I've got quite a few gears and such for this sort of thing. I've got this gear. Let's get some stuff out of the way. I got this gear, and here's a belt and some more gears. These are already purchased and there. More belts. So in some ways this will be influenced by the size of the belt and how far apart the pulleys have to be, and we're going to design it as we go. Probably not a good idea, but that's the way I'm going to do it. Alright, so this is the shaft that's going to be controlled by the motor. So the motor's going to have to be mounted up here, and I guess there may be a possibility that I'll have to drill a hole or something to thread things into, or I may just clamp it right onto this shaft here. However I do it, I gotta work it out, and like I said, I'll work it out a step at a time. I've never taken this part apart. Yeah, that sounds weird, but anyway, I never have taken this hand wheel off to look at how it's mounted or anything. So that'll be one of the first things I do, is to disassemble this a little bit and get an idea of what I'm hooking onto. Okay? And I'm going to let you guys sleep briefly while I do that. Alright? Take a little short nap, about, I don't know, 20 microseconds or something. Alright, so the taking apart was pretty easy. This little guy's got a set screw, of course, grub screw to people who speak English, and on the outside of this wheel's got a nice metal core to it there, and it came off of here. So once you move this stuff, you've got quite a bit of shaft here to work with, and I would guess that I can leave this guy on there at the same time that I run the motor. The only difference being that the motor has got to be out this way. Obviously it's got to lean out here because there's a limited amount of room here. So whatever pulley I put on here needs to be geared properly with whatever pulley I put on the little motor. So that's going to take a few minutes of thought on my part to figure out how I want it. I watched another guy. He has a 2.5 to 1 gear ratio between his motor and the stuff he's controlling. This guy turns so easy, I could probably run it on a 1-to-1 ratio if need be, but I'm just trying to decide whether I should cut a gear to go here and a gear to go on the motor. That'd solve the size of the hub problem, because the motor's got that tiny little shaft coming out, and it may be my best bet just to make a couple of gears instead of running them on those belts. So I'm going to consider that, And while you guys take another nap, I'll be thinking on this. It could take a couple of days, but you won't notice. And a little more exploration that I didn't share with you there. This guy is some kind of flimsy, chromy looking plastic, shiny plastic that goes on there with a couple of screws. And behind it's the bearing. And that couple of screws, that could be an adequate mounting point for the motor. And maybe put a little, I don't know, maybe a little flange or something to push up against here just to hold the torque back off of those screws. But screws that size can take a considerable bit of torque. I was surprised when I looked that up on the engineering site as to just how much they really can take. So there again alters my view of what I'm going to do. Alright, back to sleep. Alright, so I've got the dimensions of a bunch of this stuff, and this guy here, this little boss that sticks out of the side behind the crank there, is 2 inches, and the hole in the middle is 1 3/8 inches where the shaft comes out. The shaft is 15 millimeters, and that's back behind the collar. The little chromy thing there is a 1/2 inch thick, and the purpose of the little chromy thing is to just give a notch there so you can tell how many thousandths you've moved around on that collar. It's sort of like a pointer is what it is, and it can go away, and I can put my own pointer on whatever I put behind this. So these are number 10 screws, and they've got a pretty good bit of power. So what I've decided is I need to make a little metal plate like this, about 5 inches long, with the right bolt pattern there, 48 millimeters between all those holes. It'll be 5 inches long, 2.2 inches wide, and kind of rounded on this end so that it not only looks better but fits better. And I'll probably round the other end some too. Now I'll just make a mock-up of this out of a piece of plywood like Mr. Pete does, and see what things look like, and then I'll know whether I need to slot these holes so I can tension a belt, you know, or whatever. Still feeling around in the dark here, but a lot closer to doing something than I was, because at least I know now what the part that I need is going to look like. So I'll get busy off camera and make a piece like that out of plywood. Bit of handheld here for a second. I got me an LCD screen, and I just got through soldering all these pins to a little header, to a little strip that'll plug into the both the Arduino, or else I'm going to be able to plug wires to it. I haven't read the instructions that far yet, but while I'm doing that, I'm also doing this job right here. I got Bruno to generate me some gear files, and I'm printing them out. One of these days maybe I'll own an editor that'll generate the gear files, but I think you have to own something like or have access to one of the major CAD programs, you know. It's going good though. We'll see how it comes out. That's the big gear. Alright, so I printed a couple of gears that had Bruno Martini plot out for me on the, you know, sent me the files, and they look pretty good. I think this is going to fit onto the motor. It's a little tight there, but that's not, I don't think, any kind of a problem. What I've got to do now is put a set screw hole in there and hope that this little booger can handle a set screw. That's sort of a little worry of mine. And I'll have to put a set screw in this one too. So let's see if this one fits on the other shaft. I haven't tried it yet. It'll actually be occupying this spot right here. I guess I can go ahead and take that off. Be sure that it's going to fit. The shaft should be pretty much the same size all the way out. Or at least I think it would be. It's tight, but I think it's going to fit. Yeah, just have to get straight on there. But I believe that's going to fit. And it couldn't be any bigger or it'd start touching this guy here. So I guess I need to get set up and start trying to drill a little hole and put a set screw in it. This one and the other one. And we'll see where we go from there. Don't really have room to work, and we have to move the head up just a little bit. I think that's pretty good. And the little motor lifted up without me having to crank on anything. I'm going to try to use a little wiggler to get it on center. So, here we go. Okay, so now we know where we're at. We'll zero everything out for that and we'll be in business. Alright, let's give it a shot. See what we can do here. Drilling a number 7 hole. That's it. We're through drilling through. Now we got to find the tap and make it work. Well, that's all, folks. Y'all try to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Leave a comment if you got something to say. And above all, remember, keep on keeping on. Bye now.